Hello? Hey, can you hear me? Can you hear me? No. I can't hear you either. Uh-uh. I can read your lips though. Hello, hello, hello. Okay. I cannot hear you. Hello? Can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear yours too. Text? Do you want to talk on the phone? Hello? Can you hear me? Yeah, great. I'm trying to put you on speaker. All right. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you perfectly.
Great.
So, all right. My name is George.
Hey, George.
This is my partner. Hi, Noel.
Hey.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys?
I'm very good. Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So what is this exactly? Are you guys, you're studying business? Is it an MBA or what program are you in?
we are. Oh wait, what was that?
Like, what type of students are you? What is this class for?
Oh, this is for business classes, entrepreneurship, small business and entrepreneurship.
And are you guys business majors?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, business majors.
Are you undergraduate or graduate?
My case is a little different because I'm doing my own business. I produce cocoa beans. I'm producing now chocolate. I engineer. Got a master in international business, and now I go back to entrepreneurship.
Wow.
I do the program right now.
How long have you had your business?
Well, for the import and export, almost like 4 years. For the chocolate, I just started 6 months ago.
And have you found the education part to be helpful for your business, going back to school?
Yeah, especially for me, because I just come from working for the government. I used to work for the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of State for the last 12 years. And then I just want to do my own business. I just coming after the hurricane, moved to New York.
Yeah.
I'm from Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And just something new. And the city of New York have a lot of opportunity.
Yeah.
That's the reason.
How's your family? I heard Puerto Rico had an earthquake this morning.
Yes, they are fine, and now they had a tropical storm.
Awful.
Yeah, awful. It is what it is.
Well, I'm glad you're safe.
Yeah. So, can you tell us more about your business? Because I was so excited. Oh, look at her. She's very good.
Yeah. So when I got the email, it was from a colleague asking if any entrepreneurial ecosystem builders wanted to be interviewed. Are you guys familiar with that term, ecosystem builder?
Yeah, we're familiar with it. We're right now talking about that topic in class.
Great.
So we recently started, and we're getting some knowledge about it.
Great. So my job, I'm the rural director for a for-profit social venture called the Conductor. And so we partner with third-party funding sources to pull together a team of entrepreneurs and experts who give free business training to the community. So, for example, we partner with a university here, the University of Central Arkansas, to run their makerspace. They have the building, they provide all the equipment, but we provide the master maker, we call him, but the person who runs the programming and does all the marketing and invites people to come in and determines if they're going to do 3D printing or coding or whatever. But all of those services are free to the community and for the students. And so another example of what we do is we partnered with the AEDC, Arkansas Economic Development Commission. So it's a government-run group that's over economic development for the state. We partnered with them to run a 10X accelerator. And so it's a multi-week-long program where we help businesses between, I believe it's $100,000 and $10 million in annual revenue scale, both in revenue and employees. And so the state gives us that money, and that covers our overhead and the programming. So then we administer the programming for free. And so we've been around for 3 years now. We started in 2016. And we recently got a pretty good sized grant from the Small Business Administration to expand our programming into 10 counties in rural central Arkansas. And so my job, my role, I'm the rural director, so I am over that expansion. So I coordinate ecosystem building in 10 counties in central Arkansas. And that looks a little different than what we have at our main hub in Conway with the university. And it will also look a little different from other people that you're going to interview, or other people that your fellow students will interview, because rural communities are their own underserved group just like any other group that struggles for equitable access to resources. Some of the barriers that our rural entrepreneurs face are geographical. So they may live miles and miles and miles and miles and miles away. Yeah, so you that sounds like you're familiar with that. Another big one is infrastructure barriers. So in Arkansas, not everyone has access to broadband. And it's difficult to run a business when you don't have internet access, and it's difficult to work remotely when you don't have internet access. But a big barrier that's a little difficult to quantify, and that's what I'm focusing on right now, is the lack of trust. And so, rural communities are small communities where most of the time, people know each other. They've lived there for a long time. Generations have lived in the same community. And so coming in as an outsider, so, I work for a group that is in an urban area that is going into rural areas. It's difficult to provide services without having those relationships built and without having, the social capital that's needed to be accepted in the community. And so at the Conductor, how we mitigate that is we have hired local ecosystem builders in these communities. And so we're in the process of hiring these local people in these communities who will come to our central hub, and I will train them on what it means to be an ecosystem builder and sort of the values that come with that profession. And then they're the ones who are from these areas and who have those relationships and have that established trust will be implementing the programming. And so the programming that we have is sort of, dual focused, just like any ecosystem building, person or entrepreneurial support organization. But really it's this idea of community development and economic development. So it's where they cross. That's where the ecosystem building work is, keeping the entrepreneur always front and center. They are the priority. But what resources does that person or team of people need to be successful? And, for a lot of people, it's just basic knowledge of where to get resources. They have questions and don't know where to go and don't know what's available. Some people need help with their accounting. They may think that they need capital, but really when you look at their books, if they would just manage their money better, they would find what they needed. Some people have, specific marketing questions, and so they might want to know, how to reach a broader audience. It could be a number of different things. So we identify the entrepreneur and we help identify what it is that they need. So that's the economic development part. And then the community development part is we then connect them to the resources that are already existing in their community. For a lot of places, especially depending on how far you are from an educational system, whether it's a 4-year or a 2-year university, there are a lot of programs that are free and state funded. And it's just getting that word out. So spreading that, connecting them with another entrepreneur to be a mentor, to provide those resources and advice. But it's also cultivating a culture of innovation and entrepreneurship in a community. So thinking about rural communities, sometimes when people want to be rescued economically, they pray for a huge corporation to come in and bring hundreds of jobs, when in reality that doesn't happen a lot. And if you're a community of 2,000, you don't have that infrastructure that we talked about to be able to sustain a big enough company that's going to make that huge impact that they're hoping for. And so we really promote, this idea of if you want to have sustainable community and economic change, you need to grow your own businesses. You need to help people be innovative and think about, what problems they face every day and what possible solutions they can, come up with that solve those problems. Also, support the local businesses that already exist. So when we were talking rural, we're also talking, small and medium enterprises. We're not talking, a huge tech group. And so think about what companies are already there that we can strengthen. And so that goes back to the accelerator program that we offer. We also do a lot of just networking and awareness type of activities, whether it's like a 1 million cups program, or if it's a pitch contest, or if it's game changers, where we have like an established community leader talk about their journey in entrepreneurship, or we have startup stories, which is where we have a very young company come and talk about what their business is and why they started it, where they started it. So there's lots of different avenues and ways to approach ecosystem building, but the key to success, I think, is to know who your audience is. So if I go into what state are you guys in?
What state?
New York. So if I go into like Buffalo and say, hey, I've got all of these programs for you, it's not going to be received well, because the population is way bigger than the services I can provide. It's also, East Coast culture is different than Southern culture. And so you have to know who your audience is, like a business, know who your customer is, and be able to provide services that are helpful to them. So from an entrepreneur's perspective, it's being able to provide a product that people want to buy. For us, I'm not asking for people's money, but I am asking for their time. And so I need to be able to provide those resources and services that people are willing to spend their time on. And then the third thing is trust. Once you know who to serve and what they need, it's vital to form those relationships with people, so they know that they can go to you if they have questions or need assistance. They know that you're not going to steal their ideas. They know, thinking of other resource providers, they know that we're not going to steal their clients. And, ESOs working alongside other ESOs is a whole nother dynamic that I don't know if we want to get into on this call. But that's a broad overview of what I do. Was that helpful?
Yes. Question. When you come with your idea about business, how many times you have to change your idea, fix something out, bring them back to do something different?
Can you repeat that? Because now you're coming out of the thing. Our audio's working.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh,
wait a second.
Yeah.
Now walk in the area? Yeah. Let me see. Try again. Yeah, we hear it. You hear us?
Yeah, we can hear you.
No, on the phone only.
Yeah, we hear you on the phone, but not through the computer.
Probably you had to set up the microphone.
I don't know. You see in the left corner which says there's like a.
When I unmute that, I hear both. So I'm either going to hang up that or go through the computer.
I mean, we can't hear you through the computer, so yeah.
Yeah, we have to continue with you.
So.
No. And
it says you're muted.
But you can hear me now.
Through the phone.
I just go ask your question again.
How many times do you have changed your idea since at the beginning? You have the main idea. For example, in my case, I started with a chocolate, and then I knew I had to change them because I saw a new market for for example, dark organic chocolate, and then I got the kosher So I have been changing my idea and like add something new, something innovative. What about your business? So you have like had to be changing your idea since the beginning?
So are you asking if the Conductor has had to pivot our services since we started?
Yes.
That's a great question. And I don't know if I have like a hard answer for you, because going back to what I was saying, you know, step one is knowing who your audience is, knowing who your customers are. So that comes through customer discovery. And so our mission statement is to support and empower entrepreneurs and innovators. And so what that looks like is different depending on who our audience is, what community we're in, and what the entrepreneurs need. And so there might be a service that we have offered in one community that through our discovery, we don't need to offer it in another community. But rarely have we completely pivoted or changed course from our, you know, initial journey or what we initially set out to do, which is support and grow entrepreneurs. But as we do change programs and like thinking strategically on to the future as we're growing, I mean, that's the one question that we always ask is, what do these people need? And then we design things that are appropriate and meets that need accordingly.
Great. Do you have all the partners in all the states?
For example, like you connect the entrepreneurship with other state or other country.
So are you asking if the Conductor has a reach beyond just Central Arkansas?
Yes.
So yes, and all of that comes down to the staff that works at the Conductor. So this conversation right now is a great example of that. The colleague that put me in touch with your group, Norris Kruger, I believe he lives in Iowa or Idaho. But so, you know, being plugged into larger ESOs like the Kauffman Foundation, who has the capacity for that national outreach, has helped plug the Conductor into larger audiences. Our previous executive director, she was involved in Global Entrepreneur Congress. Are you guys familiar with that?
Yes.
And so, you know, the more that we have things to talk about and things to share, you kind of become attracted to like-minded people. So for example, last week I gave a pitch at a national conference, Rural Rise. And so that conference is all about growing entrepreneurs in your state, you know, rural entrepreneurs. And that's what I do. And so we don't necessarily serve entrepreneurs from different parts of the country or parts of the world. But, well, actually, now that I'm saying that, I take that back. Our managing director went to Yemen a couple months ago and did a week-long, it was like a mini accelerator program. And so I guess we do. But all of that really goes back to, you know, that third-party funding. If we can find money for someone to pay for us to do that, then certainly. But for the most part, for the majority, the people that we serve, our clientele, are in Central Arkansas. But then our personal reach as Conductor staff extends, nationwide and globally.
Okay.
Great. How difficult was for you to get the funding in the beginning?
Well, thankfully, you know, those conversations are above my pay grade. So I didn't have to worry about that too much. But I'll tell you how we were founded originally. The University of Central Arkansas in Conway recognized that entrepreneurship is the cornerstone of local economic development. They also recognize the role that universities play in promoting innovation through supporting their faculty research, through engaging with the community at large, and through building those relationships and connections. And so the university partnered with entrepreneurial support organization called Startup Junkie out of Fayetteville, Arkansas. So these towns were about 3 hours apart from each other. And Startup Junkie is an established organization. It's been around for a decade, who has been really huge in this scene, in this area. They've made a huge impact in growing and supporting entrepreneurs. And so the university partnered with Startup Junkie and asked them to come to Conway and do an evaluation, do an assessment of the university and the community to gauge how ready the community would be for entrepreneurial activities to be infused. And through the assessment, Startup Junkie, reported that yes, this is the right time. The leadership in the university is excellent. The leadership in the chamber is excellent. The leadership in the city council is excellent. You've got all of these groups that are ready to collaborate and are ready to get to work. So here's a game plan for you to implement that. And the university thought, wow, that's really great. Do you want to do that for us? And so Startup Junkie said yes. And so I don't remember the exact number. It was over $1 million, the initial contract. But the university gave Startup Junkie $1 million+ to start the Conductor in Conway. So the core of our organization, our base, the for-profit part is from Startup Junkie, but the social venture, the social enterprise part is that funding source through the university. And so that, the initial funding, it came going back to relationships, that relationship that was formed between the leaders of the university and Startup Junkie. It also goes back to the expertise that Startup Junkie had and was able to offer. And then through that partnership and through the successes that we've been able to demonstrate, that's how we're able to point back and say, when we look for additional funding, look, these are the things that we've done. So this is evidence of our success. This is our proof of concept. This is our MVP. Let us scale it, broader to more areas in Arkansas. But also, something to remember is there's two things that are really important when you're wanting to grow, and that's data. You have to track what you're doing. You have to show the impact that you're making. But the second thing is storytelling. So after you have that data, you need to be able to interpret it and communicate that to your audience in a way that people understand, but also in a way that people care. And so thinking of, my example of going into Buffalo, if I said, hey, I had this pitch contest in Cabot, Arkansas, and 30 people showed up, they'd say, so,
30 people?
Yeah, yes, exactly. Where if I go into a community here, so thinking of Rosebud, Arkansas, that has population 800, and I say, we had an event and had 30 people come. Our two winners were women of color. One of them already has a prototype. We're ready to rock and roll. Let's do that for you. What percentage, 30 people out of 800, what is that? More than 10%? Yeah. Obviously, I don't know math. I don't do math. But so that would be impactful for that community to hear, right? Yeah. And so it's being able to articulate what you do, why it matters, but then also, ensuring that the people that you tell it to are the right people to hear the message.
True.
Yeah, now you had to trick it data because it's 30 people, it's 2%, 5% was in the event. It's it's a few because you put the numbers. You change the number. Actually, it's the same information but different way.
Yes. And so we track everything that we do, from our one-on-one mentoring to the participants in our program, but we also have what we call engagements. And so thinking of the conference that I just spoke at, there's a couple hundred people there. And so I'm able to track that number in my list of engagements to say, our message fell on the ears of a couple hundred people. And so since we started in 2016, I don't know it down, to the one person, but we've reached over 9,500 people through our programming and through our engagements. And so we're doing pretty good, but it all goes down to like keeping track of every single thing, which is not the funnest thing in the world.
No, yeah. Like it's really important, to track the data, and also articulate it to the young entrepreneurs that are coming up and share your ideas, so they could also do what you do, be a ecosystem builder. And yeah, that brings me to a question. What you as an ecosystem builder, what was one thing that, what was that thing that you said, yeah, that's gonna be my first step, that is gonna take me on track to building my idea?
So are you asking about my personal journey into ecosystem building?
What was going through your mind after the moment, at the very beginning of your journey as an entrepreneur?
Yeah. So at the very beginning of my journey, I was working at another university in Arkansas, Arkansas Tech University. And my role, I was the coordinator of sponsored programs and university initiatives. So that means half the time I worked with faculty to apply for federal funding for their research, grants for their research. And the other half of the time, I was charged with engaging with the community and identifying partnerships for faculty. This office was brand new. It was also started in 2016 from the university strategic plan. And so from doing my research at that time, I had no concept of what an ecosystem was, or ecosystem building, or even why small businesses mattered. Like, I knew that they were in my community. I knew that I would shop at some and not at others. And I was at the university for 7 years. And so my perspective at that time was very institutionally focused. That was my priority. And so when the new role happened, and I started looking out into the community and talking to people, forming those relationships, building that trust, showing that the university was open to collaboration, and hearing these people's stories, and like why they opened their businesses, and understanding more of the challenges that they had, and understanding more of the impact that they made to the economy. It was then I was like, whoa, this is like really important. This is a real thing. How can we communicate the impact of these entrepreneurs to the university? Because at first I was thinking the other way around, how can we get partnerships for our faculty, wanting to benefit the faculty's work, not so much wanting to educate institutional people on the benefits of entrepreneurship in the community for the entrepreneurs' benefit. And so I started planning just little events. I had a panel discussion with the mayor and the university president and a local entrepreneur. I loved her story. From talking to her, she was a graduate from the university, and she's also an artist, and she has an art store where she gets lessons, and then they also, her and her husband are both artists, they sell their work. And from talking to her, she had never considered herself to be an entrepreneur. She always considered herself to be an artist. And this idea that like, no, I mean, you are an artist, but you also are an entrepreneur. Like, you've got this business, like that blew her mind. And she just never viewed herself in that way. And we were talking about how, one of the struggles that she had when she started her business was the different tax rates between offering a service and selling a product. And how, if when she was in school, if she would have known that even maintaining her studies in fine arts, she still could take business classes to learn the fundamentals of operating a business, like that would have changed her world. I mean, she still has her business, but it would have been a lot less painful to get to the place where she's at now. And so it was hearing stories like that, like, oh, there's like two sides to this. There's like community people that are the business owners, but then there's like these resources that the university offers. How can we connect that so we all can grow and we all can benefit? And so I guess my journey for me, it was like self-discovery and then looking at what other communities were doing. Are you guys familiar with the 1 Million Cups program?
I don't think I am.
So 1 Million Cups is an initiative from the Kauffman Foundation. Are you familiar with the Kauffman Foundation?
Yes.
So they have, and this is a nationwide program to support and promote entrepreneurs. And so for some communities, it's every Wednesday. For my rural communities, it's just one Wednesday a month at 9 o'clock in the morning. 2 entrepreneurs come and tell their startup stories, and it's all over a cup of coffee. And the goal is that eventually 1 million cups of coffee will be drank nationwide, promoting entrepreneurship. And so that was a program that I had seen through my research that was successful. So I started that here, and I just started doing things. And so, the more you start doing things, and I mentioned this earlier, sort of the more you get attracted to like-minded people, because as I'm trying to figure out, hey, what resources should we offer? I'm asking questions, and I'm emailing people, and I'm just getting connected to that broader audience. And so I don't know if there was ever, I think my aha moment really was at eShip, which was that was a conference that was put on by Kauffman, and that's the National Ecosystem Building Conference. And so that was in May, I think, of 2018. So that wasn't that long ago. That was like a year and a half ago. And I had been doing this work for almost 2 years, but it was at that conference hearing someone, organization like Kauffman that had some weight behind them really articulate, this is what an entrepreneurial ecosystem builder is. This is what they do. And, them literally saying like, and you, Tiffany, are one of them. And I'm like, oh, I guess I am. And so what's been difficult though is communicating that message. And that's why I was so glad to hear that ecosystem building is being discussed in your class, because the traditional economic development model, worked 20 years ago, but it's the people that are in charge and the leaders in those areas, in my experience, at least in these rural communities, are not super receptive to someone coming in and like messing their strategy up. But that also goes back to building trust and building relationships. And, when I reach out to chambers, a lot of them in the beginning, they're nervous because they don't want to impact their membership. That's their concern, because the more members they have, the more revenue they get, and they don't want anything to negatively impact that. And so I have to then show myself, as Tiffany as a person, but then also Tiffany as the conductor, and sharing, well, this is what this is what my personal mission is, and this is what our organization's goal is, and this is why, or this is how we can help you increase your membership by connecting you to the entrepreneurs that need these resources, rather than us like swooping in and taking people, because that's not what we're interested in.
All right. Well,
I think we're good. We're gonna contact you because I have a lot of questions about my personal business. I'm gonna email you right away, and because I think you can help me in a lot of things.
Yes, I'm happy to do that.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Good luck on your project.
Thank you so much.
Bye bye.
Bye. Have a nice day. Thank you for nice meeting you and nice talking to you. Oh yeah. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye bye.